Jim Hicks, Rob Hatter. You are now tuned in to the Chop Shop. I'm Retro. Let's get it. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up. It's live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up. It's live in the Chop Shop. Yeah, it's lit in the Chop Shop. Turn your dials up in the drop top. They ain't based in debate, but they keep it fact straight. Going 30 for 30. Let's do a first take on Facebook Live from 12 to 2. Rob Hatter and Jim Hicks going back and forth like Claude Ray, Skip Bayless, and Stephen Smith. From on the court, off the court, straight to the field. Not a man that steals, but I made it steal to the octagon where I fight to kill. We go face to face, then you write your will. I don't play tennis, but I bring the racket. I'm on the floor, I attack the basket, put you in the casket when I'm overlapping. Never showing mercy, cause I'm always snapping. Never showing mercy when I'm in the arena. Step into the ring, he hit me as I beat him. Step into the court, I'm never backing down. Killing competition, I'm smacking down. Let me get back to the other stuff at the Chop Shop, cause they cutting up. It's Retro coming to you live to the Chop Shop. Now let's turn it up. Yeah, we in the Chop Shop, man. Shout out to Jim Hicks and Rob Hatter. You can catch the Chop Shop live from 12 to 2 on Facebook Live. Let's get it. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up. It's live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up. It's live in the Chop Shop.
Welcome to the Chop Shop, your midday sports happy hour, the best 120 minutes of your day. Of course, yours truly, Jim Hicks. Robert Hatter is on location, and he'll be joining us shortly. Remember, he at the Vernon Dean Golf Classic in Houston, and which is pretty cool. And Hatter's going to join us live from the actual golf tournament. Meanwhile, we got a lot to talk about. We're going to cover a lot of variety of topics. You guys know that as we do on Mondays on the Chop Shop. But first and foremost, I promise everybody that we're going to recap the June Classic as well. We're going to do that. That's for certain. We're going to talk about as we prepare the upcoming rankings. Also, I have I think probably big news I may share with you guys later on when it comes to rankings. I'm going to answer some of your questions. I see you guys, but first and foremost, let's go and shall I proceed with the starting five of today. As I prepare to list the starting five, I'm going to ask you to share the show. Let's get a good share going on right now. Meanwhile, shout out to Thaddeus Moody from up in Chicago. He's in the Windy City. He's down with the Chop Shop. Give you he's starting. Also in the starting five today, these are the first 5 viewers to log on to the Chop Shop. And that whether it be on the Facebook feed or the YouTube feed. Give us a share right now. Give us a thumbs up if you're on YouTube right now. Chris Charles. What's up, Chris Charles? In the Chop Shop. Also, we have the Panther Network is in the starting five. Also, we have Simeon Sims, Chop, in the starting five. And last but not least, I was hoping that you would have been in the starting five. I was wishing that you would have been in the starting five. And that is Rod Wells. Welcome into the starting five, Rod Wells. And as you jump into the starting, speaking of Rod Wells, Rod, No, you guys know Rod Wells is a LA Dodger, just an aficionado. He loves the Dodgers. He has Dodger paraphernalia probably all throughout his house. Whatever ain't Jack Yates crimson is going to be Dodger blue. Guess what, though? This past weekend, those Dodgers ran up against them Yankees, and they got mollywopped. I'm talking about straight. If I'm not mistaken, did y'all get swept? Rod Wells? Rod, you there? Oh, Rod. If y'all see Rod Wells, y'all help him out. Help him out with them Dodgers. And once again, the Yankees blasted those guys. And now they go on the run. I think Cincinnati's up next. It's not going to get much easier for you guys. But anyway, shout out to Rod. We just always like teasing him about his Dodgers. Now, I told you guys about the June Classic this past weekend. We're going to talk about some Miami Heat in Denver. Just hold tight. And but I want to give you guys a little bit about the event this past weekend. You know, this is the perfect time to share. We're talking about these parents and the kids and the babies. It's always going to be some baby mama drama or some type of parent gone wild at some type of event. Never ceased to amaze me. But for the most part, it's the ability to have a proper security there that can help diffuse situations. And that's one of the things that I like. Rick Nelson and his crew was able to help provide preventive maintenance to some situation that could have made themselves viral. But for the most part, the June Classic, I want to give a shout out to the following teams that finished first place in their respective divisions. I have them right here. Team Alpha Wolves. Team Alpha Wolves. Shout out to Team Alpha Wolves for taking care of business in the Super Varsity division over the Invictus Red Storm. The Team Alpha Wolves, I'm trying to pull them up so I can give proper credit to those young men. And what we have, here we go right here. Y'all just hold, here we go. Quentin McBride, David Lee. I think Little Lee has a brother on that team as well, I think. And they certainly look alike when I saw them. Shout out to those young men for playing well for this team. Quentin McBride, I'm not sure what school he goes to, but that was one of the pet peeves that I had, one of the things I want to explain to you guys. And that is, when you're teams and you go to these events, I strongly encourage you guys right now to start creating a new habit to print rosters. However many games you expect on playing, print that many rosters at least. And when you go to play, if there's a person on the wall with a camera or a video camera, hand them a copy. The scorers table, hand them a copy. Anybody that you see writing as a part of the amateur media, hand them a copy. Every game. Some people might say, oh, I already got one. Thank you. Okay, good. That don't stop you from trying. Give them copies. Because otherwise, I know many of you teams, you're not used to playing in events that's going to go and give you written exposure. You say you want exposure, but then you won't provide your names of your players on your team that matches with the jersey numbers. That also includes the high school, or the grade, or their height. Which the height, you can figure it out if the guy's evaluating. He can look and tell about what a kid is. But this helps everyone. This helps us to be able to help you towards helping yourselves in youth sports. Once you you type up your roster, it's a one-time process. Now all you gotta do is just make copies and adjust the roster as accordingly when you get new members or somebody change jersey numbers. It's not that hard. The essential elements, the jersey number, the player's whole name, the height, the high school or the school period that he plays with, and the class for which he's scheduled to graduate. That's what you must do that. And then what happens is the parents have no idea that this stuff is not being supplied by many of the coaches. It's almost like pulling teeth. But then you expect for people to go, everybody, first of all, there are some event operators that don't allow. They're going to snatch their score sheet up time the game is over with. So they want to give time for people to run over to the scores table. Then there's other people that does event operators. They don't want you to buy their scores table. That's too cluttered because they're trying to get the next game on the floor and popping. If you do that, it will help your kids get some of the exposure that they are seeking at that particular time, especially for gallant efforts. That's what I'm going to explain to you guys. It's not that hard to do. Input equals output. If you're just putting jersey numbers on the score sheets, and that kid has a career day or a career game or a phenomenal out performance, and next thing you know, his name is not mentioned, but another kid's name is mentioned. You can't get mad at nobody but yourself. So every team, that may be a role. So if the coaches hadn't sent those rosters in abundance, in majority, then one of you parents may nominate yourselves to assume the role of being in charge of that roster submissions. You can give yourself a job, a volunteer task. I'm in charge of roster submissions. That's what you can say, right? And what it does is it will help. We're getting ready to do the rankings. I've explained to you guys. We're at rcssports.com. We are preparing to we're comprising the rankings list, the summer rankings, which will be available for the college coaches in time for the TABC event in Dallas in a couple of weeks, right? So in doing so, there are a lot of kids, man, that I've seen, guess what, that have been performing this spring and need to be rewarded. And it helps. There's a lot of kids I seen yesterday that is worthy of getting an invite to Rucker on Wood, at least. But the days, and I said it in the VIP news in Sunday's Post, the days of me running my ass to the scores table to find out who your baby is. I mean, when I see it, there's no name there, there's no nothing, and there's no roster submitted. That let me know that you're obviously not that concerned about your babies as far as getting exposure. My objective is to be effectively efficient. That means my output per hour is maximized when I don't have to go looking stuff up. I used to do this stuff all the time. Unless your son is 7 foot tall, unless he's just oozing with athleticism, unless he's just, unless he just scored 25, or hit a game winner or whatnot, then I'm not about to go and search and find out what's his name. I'm not asking you nothing. Now you can bring him up to me and say, hey, my name is so-and-so, so-and-so. I respect that. That might be a good way to get, a quick way to get on the rankings list. I love kids with confidence. I really do. I love kids with confidence. A lot of these kids, you make them feel so helpless in this process. And the only way they feel like they got to get a grown folk attention is if they feel like they're in earshot and they want to talk like they're grown to each other. They'll start using words to try to get, that's how they get, if you've ever noticed that, that's how a lot of young people will indirectly try to gain your attention. They don't have no idea you already have been paying attention to them. Right? And so you got, I'm looking at one of the comments right now, and Scott Athley said, I would always provide player updates after each event, including verifiable stats. Yes, you did when you were coaching the Scholar Athletes program. So I'm going to ask you to each one teach one. Share and explain the need for others to do the same to keep their torch lit, right? And B. Scott says, I've always asked coaches to take a picture of the score sheet immediately after the game. But what if that score sheet has no names in it, not even a last name? You gotta realize, when you print, here's one of the reasons, one of the whys. If you guys input the score, the rosters in advance to every tournament you play in, you input them, then that enables your score sheets to be printed out. Because all of them gonna print score sheets, it would be automatically, those names would be automatically inserted in that small space. Otherwise, I encourage you to write first initial, last name at least. Because in some cases they are brothers. As I just mentioned a while ago, the young fellas from the Team Alpha Wolves, David Lee, and I think he has a brother. I don't have his name in earshot. I don't want to chop the name up, but his brother had 30 points in the first game. In the first game they played, right? And 8 threes. But I want to give a shout out to them. Also in the varsity division, I want to give a shout out to Texas Heat. That was a really good game. They were manhandling HVA, Hoop Vision, right, Academy. They were manhandling these guys. And all of a sudden Hoop Vision stormed the back, tied the game with 4 seconds left, and then a young man named Trey Williams, he's attending Angleton High School. He's a sophomore this year. He said, give me the ball. Little Trey went coast to coast. Got around the free throw line and saw a seam and went right and kissed that thing off the glass for a buzzer-beating layup to win by 2, 56-54. Shout out to, and Doc Nelson was the site supervisor at that location. Just Play Sports, which is the old League America. They've extracted it from 6 courts to 2 courts because they have a whole complete training facility over there. And but Doc Nelson was the site supervisor. This young man started basketball at Prairie View after starting at UT Rio Grande Valley the year before that. He's there watching. He's there evaluating. I lean on young fellas like that. Give me your thoughts. And one of the things that I've used to do, that I'm starting back doing now, is, which I really don't understand why more people don't, but they should. And that is, you guys, it should be noted. It should be very highly recommended. Lean on the thoughts of some of the referees. Most of the referees played ball. A lot of the referees played ball in college. A lot of the referees know some of this and hear things that you guys may not hear further away from the court. A lot of referees know different intangibles about kids when it comes to crunch time, when it comes to communicating. They hear that stuff. I rely on a lot of the referees in the past. Then I shied away because a new set of refs, a new regime came in. And I'm going to start back relying on them on a weekly basis. Hey, ref, who you saw? Who did good in your games? And they let me know. It helps because in evaluating, there are certain kids that doesn't need, if everybody's watching the same kids, and while you're watching the same kids, you're talking to the guy next to you on the wall or in the bleachers, whether it be knowingly or unknowingly, conversations going on. So everybody, you're just there. Well, there are certain things that you could miss, and there's certain things you will miss. The more people you have and include in the process, the better evaluation you can give. Now, the question is, I see you out there, Wesley Yates Jr. Shout out to Wesley Yates Jr. And life is good in the Yates household, knowing that Wesley Yates III is heading off to University of Washington. This is another interesting right here. B says, you should really be concerned if your coach doesn't know some of the players first. Hey, you know what? This past weekend, I asked coach, it was not the first name, but I asked some coach, hey coach, I see a name right here, says, I'm using, for example, Pee Wee. What is Pee Wee's last name? Oh man, I don't even know. Coach, how can you not know this kid's last name? I understand a lot of things on a lot of you coaches' mind, but it's embarrassing, and it lets me know it yields an unfavorable impression when I'm talking to you and you really don't know the kids. That's more the reason you should print copies of your roster. That way you can act like you don't have time to talk. Oh, hold on, I got something for you, Hicks. Get in my bag. Here's a copy of the roster right here. It eliminates that. It eliminates the excuses. Right? We got one right here. The Texas Heat. He was number 1. And that's, how you pronounce that? Kadian Jones at Angleton High School, class of 2025. I watched him yesterday at number 1. He had a good first half. And they were crushing these guys by double digits on that 16 under team. Thank you, Mr. Jones. But that Angleton team, they just let me know something yesterday. You put him and you have the little kid Trey Williams with the game winner. That's 2 right there. Then that means this Angleton team is a team for me to pay attention to. Because I'm going to figure how many other pieces they have coming back next year with this Angleton team. How many pieces? See you, Doug Jones out there. Welcome to the Chop Shop. I see you. We got everybody say what's up. We got the Chatterbox, Larry Hill, the voice of TSU Sports. It's live on the Chop Shop. Shout out to him. I got Ray Moore out there. No kin to Rudy Ray Moore, I don't think. And B says Kwame Roy is Angleton too. Hey, I watched Kwame Roy this past weekend. Long arms, high shoulders, undersized, about a 3'4", man. Say, I didn't know he went to Angleton as well. Once again, they put it on the roster. I would have known. Now the question is, how many of those 3 young men play football at Angleton? Kwame Roy, Trey Williams, and the young Jones fella I just mentioned just a while ago. Kadayan. How many of them play football? Because that's going to, if you guys let me know that, then I can share some intel and right now off the cuff with this Angleton team. Because that means a lot when you know how many, if they on the football field or not for certain parts of the year. Now, we Larry Etienne says that's true. Talking about the referees. A couple of refs pulled my son to the side after the game and offered advice. Hey man, I'm telling you guys, how can you think? Do you think about you? Some of these same referees and officials that you see in high school season, they are refereeing the same games in the grassroots season. Some of the same officials. So and they talk, they conversate with each other. They speak with each other about your kids. They know when it's time. You might have. They know some of the parents, because your parents, you're giving them, you're expressing your grievances vocally out there from the stands, from the bleachers. So they know you guys. Shout out Kim Jackson, Eric Harrison, and Darius Mackey. Guys, share the show right now if you haven't done so. Let's get this thing, let's get it popping on the Chop Shop Day. Also, we're doing is giving some shout outs to a few of the teams that won first place at the June Classic. This is a different level of exposure. You playing tournaments that has JRB affiliation or RCS Sports affiliation, we're going to do a little bit of extra. That comes with the opportunity to get some of that extra is what can help you guys. What can help you and help. Here's what it does. If your sons if your son can hear their name on the Chop Shop, then first of all, you hear your son's name, it makes you feel good. You're going to save the show it to your son, and your son is going to feel good. It helps the self-esteem. There's no other show that's going to talk about these June bugs like that. So this is a way, an avenue for you guys to take advantage of wholeheartedly. But we can't talk about them in detail if we don't know the high school, we don't know the grade, we don't know we don't know the height. But as we get ready to, Robin Hatter is ready to join us. He's in the green room right now. But last but not least, I want to give a shout out in the varsity division. I was telling you guys about Texas Heat and Trey Williams hit that bucket, but that Kwame Roy, he had 21 points in that game. 21 in that championship win. He's another Angleton High School kid. Then also in the A grade championship, they had a little kid named DeMarcus Sloan. He's going to North Shore High School next year. And this kid here got a chance to be special. He had 11 points in the first half, finished with 14, and he plays for that HVA 2017. They cruised past the one-time legends by 20, put the Mercer rule on them. And so those are just 3. On tomorrow, I will give more, right? I will give more on tomorrow from this June Classic. But meanwhile, you guys can go over to rcssports.com and check out the VIP news. Right now, live in the studio, we have Robert Hatter with us. What's going on, boss? What you doing? What you doing out there?
Man, I'm out here at the Bernadine first golf tournament. It's going to be an annual golf tournament. Man, everybody's out here, Jimmy. Oh my God. Mark Henry, the world's strongest man. Lemuel Stinson, Fred Dean, I mean, a lot of HBCU former. I mean, it's just so many people. Sean Gay is out here. Uh, we got Terry Chico. The young man who's going to run for the U.S. Senate against Ted Cruz. Dude, we just out here enjoying ourselves. Great calls, the Boys and Girls Club. Jimmy, your young kids came out. They've been hanging out with us. I'm gonna send you some footage. We're gonna play some footage for you tomorrow. I'm about to hit. I think they need me right now. Y'all need me?
They say hell no.
Okay, they need me right.
They say hell
No,
no.
they say they need Big Daddy. Y'all, Jimmy, click me off the screen 1 second and let me hit this shot, and then I'm gonna come right back on you. Hold on a second. Hold on.
Okay, all right. Now, of course, that is Robert Haller live on location at the Vernon Dean Golf Classic, which is going on. And I'm gonna tell you something, guys. Meanwhile, I don't know what you've been watching over the weekend. I'm not sure what you've been watching, but I'm gonna tell you something. These women's softball. I started watching it during the getting in tune to it during the pandemic. But I'm gonna tell you something, and that is
Jimmy.
Huh?
Bring me back on, baby.
Hella back.
Bring me back on, Jimmy. Jimmy, I just suck it, Jimmy. They had it. You had me off the screen. They thought I was gonna be on the screen. They put it up there. I just sucked one and walked off, Jimmy. Just suck and turned my back on them and just walked off.
Alan, now what evidence do we have to believe that what you're telling us is accurate?
Okay. Hold on. Come on, everybody, come in. Come on. Will y'all tell them what just happened? Come on, everybody, come on in. Everybody, come on in. What just happened?
He made a heck of a putt.
Okay, what'd you say? What you say, darling? What you say, Terry? Hey, I got people, man. You understand me? And I didn't pay them.
Yeah.
I didn't pay them to say it. hey, Jimmy, y'all got to see. Hold on. I got to show you what I'm. Did y'all see what I'm riding in? Hold on. Did y'all see what I'm riding in, Jimbo?
Man, that's like you in City Gas.
That's
like you over there in City
Did y'all see? Yeah, I'm in City Gas, whatever you call me. But man, hey, I appreciate y'all, but we got some more work to do. I can't wait to recap with y'all tomorrow. I'm listening to the show right now, so don't y'all say nothing crazy, cause I'm gonna comment. All right, so I'll see y'all later. I love y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow. All right.
And of course,
okay. Bye, Jim.
There you go. That's Robert Haller out on location. He'll be back with us shortly. But meanwhile, the Oklahoma women, they're playing Stanford right now. It's on ESPN. That game is. I'm gonna tell you something. Oklahoma's number one team in our women's college softball. They are like the UConn. They're blue blood in women's softball. The Stanford team, they ain't chopped liver. They got a sister that's a freshman sensation. She just pitched, I think, yesterday. I don't think she's on the mound today. Let me turn that thing on. Yo, you guys, let me get this. I know the score is 2-2 in the bottom of the 5th inning. Right? And let me find and see who's on the mound for both of these teams right here. There we go. 2-2. And Stanford is batting. I got it on my screen now. But I'm telling you guys, you might want to check some of that out. That's some intriguing. The energy level for these softball games is premium. That would definitely fill the gaps for many of you guys need. I'm looking at some of the comments, and I'm just catching up on some of the comments from you guys. And Wesley says that's a Harley Davidson cart that Haller has on. Yeah. Oh, the freshman just entered the game. That what Roy Wells says. We're gonna see. I'm watching it now as we're talking. Meanwhile, speaking of baseball and of course of softball, that is, you guys can catch a lot of the action on the ESPN networks, and this is the actual World Series for them, and it appears as the score still remains 2-2 bottom of the 5th with 2 outs, that is. Meanwhile, let's go and shift gears and talk a little basketball, right? First of all, I want to give a shout to Sam Cassell, who I think had broke some of the news, broke a piece of the news, hinted that it was time, maybe it's time for Sam Cassell to get from under Doc Rivers' shadow. He had been with Doc with the Los Angeles Clippers. He's moved with Doc to the Philadelphia Sixers. And now Doc Rivers, of course, has been, is no longer the coach with Philly. Sam, this is the perfect opportunity to go and get your name affiliated and get some of the guidance of the tutelage from another head coach that's not named Doc Rivers. So Sam is going to Boston, which a team and a program for which all eyes will be upon next year. And now this, as Sam, as you guys know, he's interviewed for a couple of head jobs. And it's starting to feel like maybe he's one of those affirmative action type interviews. He's the token. And that ain't sure. This guy deserves an opportunity, just as some of these other cats that are coming in to the game. His energy, his basketball IQ, and the thing is about a guy like Sam, and which I know Sam from from living in Houston. Matter of fact, we did a spread on Sam Cassell in the magazine about 10 years ago. And he knows, he can speak the language of some of those younger bucks. Believe it or not, he can communicate. It's almost as like if one of these young bucks spoke Chinese and you didn't, you can't relate to him properly. Sam can speak a little bit of that language. He can give it to him maybe a little bit too raw when he gives to him because it's truthful. But he has a good eyeball. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Sam Cassell's on the front line. After seeing him play, after being a point guard, they can tell and identify others like. He was like, this dude here is gonna be special. That was when he was a rookie. He was part of that package they traded away for Paul George. And this dude, 2 years later, he's an all-star. And mind you, OKC, you can laugh at them, this year, they had bumps and but at the same time, their number 1 pick. OKC made it, they finished 9th. They were in the play-in tournament. This without the number 1 pick missing the entire season. And these guys find themselves in the lotto again. I don't know what number they're going to pick this year, but this, Stanford just hit that ball pretty good, but right at an OU center fielder, which ends the 5th inning. But Sam Cassell, good move for him. It really is, guys. Now, I was talking about last night, I was watching the game. I know you guys watched the game. We now officially have a series. It's 1-1. And I'm looking, and I go through, and you guys can, get your thoughts talking the NBA. Share the show right now if you haven't done so. It's 42 minutes past the hour. 42 minutes past the hour. And one of the good moves early on is, one of the things about series is adjustments and the people's ability to make proper adjustments. And as the Miami coach did, he inserted Kevin Love to start the game off. And in that first quarter, Miami, after 12 minutes, they not only held Denver to only 23 points, which was their lowest 12-minute output of the game, they also were ahead 26-23, right? And They started Kevin Love in place of Caleb Martin. And this move gave them the energy out the gate. Kevin Love made a few plays, and that's the whole thing. He didn't didn't expect Kevin Love to play a whole lot of minutes, but he set the tone, and that's what the scout is. It helped him. It helped Denver to succeed in their scout. Kevin Love finished with only 6 points, but he had 10 rebounds. That's the most rebounds on the team. He only played 22 minutes. He had 10 boards. He controlled that board, gave a couple of outlet passes, which keeps, when you see a guy that can outlet, he's probably one of the best outletters in the history of the game. But when because he flicks that thing, when put backspin up under that ball, and it goes, and it's almost like, man. And when he does it, and when he's in the game, it makes the defense have to get on back. It keeps them honest because they know what's possible whenever he gets a rebound. They know what's possible. This guy get the rebound, it's gone. And shout out to Seneca Johnson. I see you in there. And also, thanks a bunch of you guys. I see Eddie Hardeman says Coco Golf won a match today. That's great for Coco, and we'll be of course getting on some tennis definitely on tomorrow and Wednesday in more depth. But right now we're talking this NBA game. You guys, I'm looking at it. Vincent, 23 points, 4 for 6 from three-point land. Strauss, 14 points, 4 for 10 from three-point land. Jimmy Butler was 2 for 5 from three-point land. Robinson came off the bench, 2 for 3 from three-point land. Kyle Lowry came off the bench, 2 for 3 from three-point land. Guys, this Miami team, they seem to always find a way. Just when people are doubting them in abundance. I mean, it's almost like they just wait for you to give them a reason to prove you wrong. If that was ever, and they're only 3 wins away from becoming the poster child of proving virtually everybody wrong. Think about the road that they traveled. This Miami team through the postseason. The road that they traveled. They whooped Milwaukee. They whooped Boston. This team right here, and now, understand, Denver is still the favorite, but this road win for Miami, it helped relieve stress. Because they 2-0, if they go home 2-0, guys, we're thinking now, oh, Lord, don't let these people get swept. Game 3 would turn into Game 6 for Miami. Game 4 could end up being Game 7 for them. Glad they won this one. And you think about it, doing all of this without Tyler Hero, without Victor Oladipo, without both of them. This Miami team, man, and they have understand, they have a 14-man roster. I'm sorry, a 11-man roster. What is it? How many did they suit up? 5. They suited up 13. Because Udonis Haslem, that's just like a free space in bingo. He's not touching the court. He's just occupying a seat on the bench. He's a player coach. More so a coach player. Really, that's what he is. A coach player. And I'm looking to see some of the things that stick out. By the way, I mentioned that the 3-point percentage, Miami shot 48% from behind the arc last night. 48%. It was 17 for 35. Do I think that's going to happen next game? No. No. However, do you think that they're going to contain Jimmy Butler to, what, 13 points and then 21 points? What's the over and under on that? You think they're going to contain Jimmy Butler? Sooner or later, Jimmy Butler's going to have one of those Jimmy Butler type games. It's just they're perfecting their scout on him, and they're saying, well, Jimmy Butler's not going to beat us like that. But Jimmy Butler's getting a shot opportunity. He just didn't shoot the ball well last night. He missed 12 of his 19 shot attempts. So that part is on Jimmy Butler. He had to get to those spots. Like in that fourth quarter, he went to the right, found his sweet spot, rose up, nailed that jumper. Get to those spots and get himself on. Now, meanwhile, for the Nuggets, Michael Porter 5 points, Caldwell Pope 6 points. Of course, Aaron Gordon 12 points, 7 rebounds. That's what you expect of Gordon. All right. Murray 18 points, 10 assists. That's right in the range, but you need about 23 from Murray. Jokic 41 points, 11 rebounds, only 4 assists, but he had 5 turnovers as well. Jokic, this is one of those games where they had this game. It was a 15-point advantage, and they smoked it off. Yeah, Rod Wills, you're right. That big freshman is in the game for Stanford. Hey, guys, turn your TV on ESPN. I'm telling you, if you haven't seen her throw this ball, she's good. No, she's better than good. Sometimes Oklahoma could be in trouble. Now, the thing is, if Stanford beat Oklahoma, they got to turn around and beat them again. But this young lady, man. So now I'm looking, of course, I'm looking at reading his stat lines from this game, and once again, I'm just happy that Miami got a win on the road. And I want this series. I'm rooting for 7 games. I want it to go 7 games. So that means whatever team that can make me get a chance to see one more NBA basketball game this June. That's what I'm rooting for. I'm trying to maximize it all, right? And I'm looking. Alfio then expressed his feelings about OU, being the Texas Longhorn that he is. And OU is following y'all into the SEC. Alfio, you got other teams to worry about now than just OU, now that you guys are going into the SEC next year. So Coco, of course, is now in them quarterfinals of the French Open, as we said earlier. And I didn't realize that loss last night was the first loss for Denver since May the 7th. It was June the 4th. They hadn't lost a game since May the 7th. Right? That was 4 weeks ago. And Tyler Hero, they saying played 2-on-2 and is unclear for his status on game 3. And the NBA, new talks has emerged about another expansion, according to Adam Silver in a conversation on NBA TV. So now, as we approach the top of the hour, it's 53 minutes past the hour. You guys, what I'm gonna do, we're gonna talk some at the top of the hour. We will talk some recruiting talk, some high school basketball recruiting talk, college recruiting talk. We'll engage on some things that can help you to be able to help others. Also, we're gonna also, meanwhile, I take out the time to share with you guys some information about a few kids from the state of Texas that are playing and attending the prestigious Pangos All-American Camp. The Pangos All-American Camp is taking place in Las Vegas right now. So I have the list. I annually go to the Pangos camp, but this week, knowing that I will be traveling been added, of course, well, not added, I've served on the staff for Nike Elite 100 on the scout team for a number of years. I just don't go out and advertise it to you guys as much. A lot of things is on my resume and things that I do. You know, you move, some of your moves you just move in silence, and they'll see it and remind themselves of some of the decisions they make. I'll share with you guys a list on that on probably Wednesday. But I think Wednesday might be my travel day. That sister just struck out the Oklahoma chick with 2 runners on, and Stanford is fired up right now, if you guys are watching this game. But meanwhile, there's 112 players approximately participating in Pangos camp. Out of those 112 players, roughly 12 are from the state of Texas. Out of those 12, 2 are from Greater Houston. That being Robert Miller III and Jared Harris. Robert Miller III, Jared Harris. Now, the other 10 from around Texas, Jeremiah Green is from Denton Guyer High School, right? He's class of 2025. He's up there, right? Also, going down the list of the Texas players, Texas-based players that are at Pangos camp. Hudson Greer from Lake Travis. Jermaine O'Neal Jr. from Dallas. Trayvon Clark, that is. He's a rising sophomore from San Antonio. Wagner High School, that is. Jalen Shelley, and he's from Dallas. Kellen Bristow from Holiday, Texas. Amari Reed, the big fella from Lancaster, that's the official pronunciation, and Dad's always chop it up on purpose down here. Sam Asai from Dallas, from the Potter's House, actually Jacksonville, Texas. Jaden Tomes from Dallas. And Big Dorian Onwuchekwa, the big fella from Fate Family, he's there. And that pretty much rounds them off from the state of Texas. About 12 players, 2 from Greater Houston. Dallas is in there heavy, and remind you, one of the reasons that Dallas is in there heavy is that the Dinos Trigonis annually does a Pangos Junior camp for 9th and 10th graders in Dallas every year. That thing is held sometime around the 1st of October of each year. Now, by it being in Dallas, that means you getting in bed. That means you're going to show favor by default to that area for which you have saturated with your camp. Now, here's the deal. That camp also advertised and broadcast on their website that if you were one of the top players in that camp, then you would get an invite to the main Pangos camp. It's kind of like a feeder, like a regional. But if you are named one of the top players, I don't know what that means. It's an open statement, but if you're one of the top players, that's what the verbiage says. You will get invited to the Pangos camp. Well, that did not happen this year. And so that also contributed to me deciding not to go this year personally. We didn't make no big stink about it. I said, you know what? You gotta hold true on your word. I contacted Dinos and I told him about that. It no matter if what you may think if the kid is good enough or not, but if your verbiage says one of the kids, one of the top players will get invited, will, not shall, not may, will get invited to Pangos, the real Pangos. Then that means if you make MVP of this camp, then you automatically, you're not, whatever the number may be of a top player, if you are MVP, co-MVP to be specifically, then you have been deemed, that's per your verbiage, it's an automatic bid. It didn't happen. So now, if that verbiage is still in the invite or in the paperwork or in the solicitations, be advised. You heard on the Chop Shop. If your kid can go and show his ass and make MVP, that does not mean he's going to make it, no matter what you read on that paper, because there's a young man from out of Houston that was MVP, co-MVP last year in that camp in October and did not get an invite. And he's knowingly didn't get an invite because I know that I was not the only person that contacted Dinos about that. And I'm not talking about the parents. I was not the only person that ain't related to him to bring it up. So that's a conscious decision. And so that means now some of you people, you be careful how you spend your money. Be careful. Be advised, be knowledgeable on how you spend your money. Right? And now, shout out to the legend, Dwayne Rogers, in the Boomer Room, Hall of Famer from the Fundy Recreation Center, and of course, the best, well, they use the term street ball player, back in the older days. He's one of the very best in the United States of America to do it. He's widely known. Remember, he played when Dick Vitale them had a 3-on-3 in Vegas. He played in all around the country. Dwayne Rogers. People like him is part of black history. I know many people have, they often go in gyms, and a lot of these kids walk right by other people because they don't really know and they haven't been taught. And all you got to do when you have one of the youngsters with you, you stop them in their tracks and you say, excuse me, may I have a minute, a second? Mr. So-and-so, Mr. Dwayne Rogers, this is little Johnny. Little Johnny, this guy right here, look at him. He's not that tall. He's only 5'11" and some change. 5'11" and 3/4. But this is what he used to do on the court. He did this. The best player you know probably couldn't touch him in his heyday. And then you tell him, go, come and read. Let me show you his name on the wall. And then that way, don't you ever walk by him again in your life without saying, how you doing, Mr. Rogers? That's what some of the stuff, some of the directives that we have to start installing in some of these young people. Because if you guys know there's a lack of respect out there, it's a hell of a gap. The respect bridge is broken with these young people, to the point where a lot of old heads, sometimes we feel conflicted on whether we even need to correct them or even tell them to, hey, watch your mouth whenever they're cussing too much, because it's the fear of the unknown, because their lack of respect will make them respond improperly. And then we got to put ourselves in a situation where we got to make decisions to not get ourselves in handcuffs, just simply because as an indirect result of a young person not being cordial or respectful. Let the guys know this is so-and-so, and that guy over there is so-and-so, and he used to do this. And understand, and a lot of people, they really don't know the respect factor. It's guys on the sidelines volunteering, coaching these grassroots teams. These kids don't have no idea. I know you've probably told them in practice, but the music sounds sweeter from a different set of speakers. They have no idea. They don't want to believe that you might have been that good. That they on their best day, you probably would have gave them 30 or 40. Those kids that you working out probably wouldn't believe that. Herb Baker is in the boom room. A lot of the kids he work, they probably wouldn't. They can't visualize it. They don't realize it. How good everybody had that day, right? So, how good you were in your day. Make these young people start back respecting the elders. You guys can install that in them. If you have influence over the young people, then you can influence them to create a new habit of certain people. Now I'm gonna tell you now, if they respect, if your influence is that strong, then people that you don't favor, that youngster is not gonna favor either. They're gonna emulate whom they idolize. If they idolize you, they're gonna like what you like in many cases and not like what you don't like. If you eat mustard and don't like mayonnaise, look over that youngster and see what happened when he ordered his burger. If you like legs and thighs and don't like breast and wings, or vice versa, guess what? That youngster gonna order his chicken probably the same way. All you do is pay attention. They emulate whom they idolize. Get these young people to start providing the respect that's needed, and it will help us with preserving and relaying the history of whatever city you live in. And it's like some people with our culture, the only respect they're going to get is if you wear a certain type of designer clothing items, or if you some type of designer vehicle, then that's the only way you're going to get respect. That's crazy. That's crazy. And that's wrong. Because you lead the kid to believe that the only way they gonna get respect is for them to go and get those type of items. So now once you buy and you start getting that type of items, then you got to keep buying another one once that gets dirty, or once it shrink. You done put it in the dryer instead of sending it to the cleaners. So now you got to get another one. Now you get another one. Now you're living outside of your means. And then that starts to breed undue stress. It's just a respect thing, guys. Just a respect thing. And so, Herb, you said Dwayne is there. B has a question. There are so many former NBA players using any events they do as a group. And some of you guys may be able to answer that question if you deem, if you feel qualified to do so. There are several opportunities that collectively they can do, but right now there's a bridge of the OGs versus the new heads. Even with the pro-am that takes place now, the No Excuses Pro League, there's a lot of the younger guys that occupy that circuit now. A lot of the older guys, like a Dwayne Rogers, he still goes there. He no longer plays in it. His career, he plays, but he's not actively a routine. Byron Smith plays in it, but Byron Smith is what, 14 years younger than or so younger than Dwayne Rogers. Byron came out of high school in like what, 91, something like that. 90. No, he went to U of H around 90. Came out of high school in the late 80s. That's right. He must have came out of high school in like 88. 80, yeah, I would say 87, 88. Sounds about right. 88. When he was at Tyler Junior College in the backcourt with Robert Pack. I remember that like it was yesterday. First time seeing Robert Pack. Byron Smith is one of those coaches that he's a head coach at Prairie View. But guess what? Right now, they got certain different sets of rules in one-on-one. If people play one-on-one, like at the Fundy, there's not like playing one-on-one in the concrete, on the slab in your old one-on. They have different rules. I don't really know all the rules, but I know one of them is when the guy misses, you got to bring the ball all the way up to the top, right? If you're playing one-on-one rules and no layups, some guys play where you got to hit all jumpers, no layups, or you only get 2 layups. Some people got different rules. Byron Smith would probably be, if they had a tournament with all of the head college basketball coaches in there, he would either finish first or second in the country. That's how active Byron Smith is right now in basketball. He would finish first or second if they had a tournament. Remember now, everybody that can't play, I'm talking about playing right now, not what they used to be. Now, if you put Penny Hardaway out there right now, Penny Hardaway wouldn't be able to play at the same level that Byron Smith is playing at. I wouldn't. Everybody got knees and they get knees undefeated. Stanford just doubles in the top of the 7th with no outs, and they are threatening to score to break this 2-2 tie. It's a classic game going on, guys, on ESPN right now between Stanford and Oklahoma. If you are able to check it out, please do so. Meanwhile, it's 12 minutes past the hour. And as promised, we're getting to some of the topic of recruiting. And as we get into the recruiting topic, let me cue up. We're preparing to update the rankings, right? And I'm looking for something to show y'all. Here's one right here. These is a cheat sheet book. This is a booklet that I prepare for the college coaches. Now these booklets, this last one came out during the Final Four. This comes out, this is a spring one. This spring one has a list of, at the time, the transfer top players from the area in the transfer portal. And then it has the top areas, top unsigned seniors, right? With their cell phone numbers, evaluations of each. Then it goes into some of the top players from the class of 2023. Then it goes into 24, then 25. And just let colleges know a quick little cheat sheet of who to see. Well, what we're going to do for the summer cheat sheet booklet is we will be comprising and including not only an updated rankings list, but the list of top players that are on various teams that will be playing in the TABC event. That's the live event for Division I coaches. So that's going to help a lot of colleges, because as the schedule comes out, and I think it should have dropped. Maybe, I don't know if it's dropped yet or not. You guys let me know. Then it'll help coaches form their schedules, because they'll see, it'll help them. This little cheat sheet with hey man, these are the 2026s, these are the 25s, these are the 24s, and guess what? As a teaser, here's a couple of 2027s that may be playing varsity. So with that having been said, if there's mind you, a class of 2027 player that you know that has been added to the varsity team that will be playing in Dallas at the TABC event later on this month, please let me know. Let me know if he's going to be on the rock, and I'll be sending that message to the high school coaches as well. But this is some of the stuff that we do to help the exposure, to help for your babies. And I tell people all the time, you know, all you have to do is start asking some of these coaches, how did you learn about my son? Because often some of y'all might be thanking the wrong person. And I'm not taking credit for any of that. I'm just letting you know, because I know that many of y'all are probably thanking the wrong person. You have no idea sometimes some of the people that may be relaying good intel or good words of approval about your babies. Hell, it could have been one of the referees. Everybody went to college with somebody. Everybody played ball with somebody. Everybody was a homeboy with somebody that may be a college coach. You guys, you follow me? So that's the thing that I want you guys to be mindful of. And I'm looking right now. I see you, Michael Smith. Icy Mike is on the Chop Shop, guys. He's rocking and rolling. Thanks for Icy. My shout out to him. And of course, Michael and Keija Smith. It's Keija, especially wishing them a good recovery. And we have another question. Speaking of transferring or decommitting, did I hear that Chris Johnson is trying to get away from Kansas? Over the weekend, it was reported on social media that Chris Johnson has asked for a release from his letter of intent from Kansas. They were just set to report to campus, I want to say June the 1st or the 2nd. And I'm not sure. Thing is, former University of Texas player, has transferred. Ontario Morris is transferred to Kansas, along with some of the signees that they have coming in the fold as well. But that's part of what you get with big time basketball. But Chris Johnson is reportedly leaving and transferring. Somebody will, guess what? He's very talented, but it's more to the game than just talent. It's way more than just talent. So this is a young man that you have to think about something, man. In the past 3 years, probably this young man's probably had, think about how many different workout coaches, high school coaches, and grassroots coaches that he's had combined. That means that many different guys have had influence over him throughout his basketball high school career. Think about it. So that means every one of those guys, what's the odds of all of them teaching them the same thing? One may be teaching them how this way to do something, or another one. And remember, the objective is to advance the ball, pass the ball, and or score the ball. So that's the ultimate goal. But there's different ways to get there. So that means he has that many different teachers, and you have to process that stuff. So I mean, when you're getting ready to where it becomes muscle memory, you have to and then also in basketball, all guards have to be, the better guards are the ones that are supreme problem solvers. This Chris Johnson story, he's not the first very talented player from that that goes through some trials and tribulations, and he won't be the last. It's going to be up to him to solve it. It's his problem that he needs to solve. And how you solve it is getting out there, finding the right program that's going to allow himself to go out there and excel and have freedom to fight through some of the mistakes. But at the same time, certain guys, they're going to get on him hard. Would he be able to handle that at an extended, consistent time span? That's the thing. That's the question. So yes, let's answer that now. And I'm looking. Yeah. Wesley said the Stanford freshman is battling. She's battling. Remember, it was a run on second with no outs. It's 2 outs right now in the top of the 7th. And with Oklahoma has runners on first and second. And now it's 1 ball, 2 strikes, and she's about to deliver that pitch that can get her out of this inning. And it's just outside. 2-2 is the count. Very good game. I told y'all, man, it's a good game. This is a good game, man. I ain't joking. That was a good game. And remember now, Stanford has to beat Oklahoma twice today in order to get to the championship game. So here we go. Here's the pitch. Fouled off. 72 miles an hour. But let's talk. Yeah, B said last year I was walking around. That's what I do. I hand those cheat sheet booklets out to college coaches almost like they're candy. And as you notice this, when you guys see me handing those out to those college coaches, and you'll see me next week, I'll be handing them out. I'm not asking them, Coach, will you subscribe to my scouting service? I'm not asking them, Coach, I'm giving you all these phone numbers. If you're watching, pay attention. That lets you know and I'm giving these out and supplying them with your baby's info, whether they subscribe to me or not, I'm still passing that info on. Because I really feel that one day on the big end or somewhere down the line, the blessings will flow as they already have. In this life, I'm virtually playing with house money based on where the before and after, where I was versus where I am. And that's one of the reasons why you guys can see and you can tell that I'm striving to engage and perfect other areas and innovate myself in the other sectors. I've had a very long run with these rankings and stuff. I'm going to enjoy them, but as I told you before, truth be told, breaking news, and I'm going to ask you guys to share the show right now. If you would, share the show. Right? Share the show. Now here's the announcement. As you guys know, the magazine comes out every year in November, and it's a very stressful task, but I love doing it. I think this year we are going to print limited copies of this, which will make it which will make the value increase. There will be limited copies, and if a person doesn't get it at the season opener or the Hoops Giving Classic, they will definitely be sold out. I'm talking about limited copies. I'm probably going to only print maybe 500 copies. That way now, everybody that has one, the value will go up with the magazine this year. But that's part of the news. Bigger news is, and I'm going to need your help, and I'm going to welcome your input on something. It's not easy to say this, but this is, I'm going to this part right here was the rankings page, and I am about 95% certain that I will vacate the rankings process with RCS Sports. And I've thought on it, and I've asked various people questions, because at first it used to be, and it all comes down to the common denominator, to whereas you find yourself walking by a lot of these kids 10 years later after they graduated, 20 years after they graduated, in some cases, and they walk by you, and it ain't necessarily a lack of respect, but it's an abundance of disdain built up inside of them because they've been influenced to hate me because they were ranked too low. And you find that's a space that, as I get older and some of the young people are coming into the game business, and that's a space that I just refuse to continue to go in. So I'm going to not do rankings, starting with the magazine. So you got 2 good rankings batches coming from RCS Sports. Then after that, I'm like Dr. Dre. You can have this shit in regard to the rankings. Because grassroots coaches, they won't play in your event because their kids rank too low. But then they'll go play in prime time or play in other people's event that don't do rankings at all. I say, okay. I watch this. Various people does tournaments. Playing them tournaments, ain't no rankings services there, and they're playing. Everybody's, guess what? So it must be all good. That means that can't be what you, but then you use that as an excuse, or that may be your reason. So I'm going to eliminate that as a reason. So now what's going to be the reason? It's going to turn into something else. If rankings is what, and another component that's inside that dwells within the fact that we've proven, it's evident, we have receipts to show that there are abundance of parents who have paid for rank. From different people. I just had a parent this weekend just sit there and confess to me they're from out of Friendswood, Texas. Parent confess that they know one of the members of their community paid for a ranking and was going to take the person was going to take them to court because an agreement that person made to go and fulfill a certain promotional endeavors for this person's kid. I mean, tweet his name out a few times, give him favorable ink, and rank him up high. That's part of the package. And supply his intel to the college coaches. You don't have to pay to get this stuff supplied to the college coaches on this side of the track. I'm not doing that for y'all. This is for free. So, and then the parent told me, this is what the norm is. This is what the parents, they'll do. Okay, that's good. Guess what? That let me know yesterday. It's time for you. Don't worry about the ranking. I will put their names in alphabetical order. And you guys remember, it was done years ago. And it was very, very welcomed in the magazine called Street and Smith. That's what they did for high school players. They put their names in alphabetical order and they rolled with it. Now, I'm going to need your assistance if there's a way to sort those names into different categories, but they're still going to be in alphabetical order. That's what I'm going to do. So now, once again, it's going to make me sleep a whole lot better. I don't have to worry about going through the process of overly influencing Doug Jones or Jeffrey Day or Archie Young to come, hey man, let's get these rankings, let's do this, because once their name's in alphabetical order and the evaluation is there, you don't have to worry about touching it no more. It's a matter of just dropping an ad now. Some kid may play his name, if we put him in categories. Just say, for example, if it was, I don't want to use a term as a bar, these would be top shelf kids, or I may put D1 prospects, non-Division I prospects, and you can play your way over. You can play your way up into that bar next year. D1 prospects, non-Division I prospects. Then guess what? There's going to be a kid that will be left under that bar that's going to give a life sentence and will probably hate me for the rest of his life, because one day he may get better and improve himself into a Division I player, and he would go and say, well, see there, instead of saying this was my motivation, he would say, you know what, that guy, you ranked me too low. You messed up my life. Because I ranked you too low, I messed up your life. I hindered you from getting in college, the college that you can play, because I messed up your life. RCS Sports messed up. Think about how that sound. And grown folks will let kids say that and believe that. Not, mind you, not the coach who took you to all these different tournaments where you may have played in front of certain eyeballs or recruiters, or you did not. Not all the abundance of auditions that you had at team camp. Not the fact that you went to a Rice camp. Rice took place this past weekend, and they watched everybody they needed to see. I guarantee you. Remember, those type of camps is all hands on deck. The top 4 coaches, the video coaches are watching players, the supplemental coaches are watching players, the trainers are watching players. Everybody is watching and evaluating during those camps. So you had your audition now. You went to just abundance of auditions. You went to all these different unsigned senior showcase. You went to Coach V's camp, everything. But then it's only because of lack of ranking. So that's the big news that you guys get for today. I don't see the enthusiasm in far as rankings from Doug Jones and Jeffrey Day. Jeffrey Day has his own rankings on his own site. So that means whatever he feels, that means that's an indirect way of saying, well, my rankings is so guess what? I move out the way and y'all can acknowledge those rankings. Meanwhile, it'll be a list of kids' names at the end of the year on the website, and that list of names will be in alphabetical order. And guess what? And those coaches will know. Meanwhile, my concentration will be going towards running great youth events. Running events. And that's where it is. Because it actually loses. I actually lose too much time trying to find out who's the best. When it's simple, it's easier to just see a kid and you can add his name to a list after seeing him in the weekend, and he's there. It's an ongoing list. Some go in and some will go out. If your ass ain't performing, you go off that list. If you are, you be one of that list. So theoretically, it may be a top 25 or a top 50 or a top 100, but this is what it's going to be. And so Trey Phillips asked me, will I still do rankings private to the college coach review your reports to them? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Remember, you got 2 more left. I got the summer one. Then we have the fall. Rucker on Wood will be the last one. But then that's going to give those guys a head start. So theoretically, right after Rucker on Wood will be a fall cheat sheet book that'll go out, and that's according to my plan. Unless I get an infusion of energy from people that are unattached, unaffiliated, and overqualified for doing that. That'll be the only way. Somebody will have to basically convince me. And I'm 95% convinced. You have to do some hell of a convincing to get me to pull back on that. Guys, it's been 20-something years. And every time you get with the old cats or with not old cats, with guys that are former high school players, it's always where a person wasn't ranked. It's never thank you for putting me in this. So it don't even it don't even weigh right. It don't even weigh right on your spirit years later. Because I went back and counted them randomly. I got way more right than wrong. Me getting Jimmy Butler wrong was like a free space in bingo. Everybody got Jimmy Butler wrong. Who the hell got him right besides his grassroots coach? Think about it. He just got better. If everybody got it that wrong, he just got better. So that's the thing. So that way now it makes it easier to make decisions now. It's easier now to go and say, man, these are our top shelf players right here. Because you're on that shelf. Are you gonna be on that shelf, top shelf, or are you regular? Or you well? Like you go to the bar, get a well drink. You well or you top shelf? You know, Eric Bender said, "I'll do him, Jimmy." No. I'm looking right now. Yeah, Miss Tanya, that's not unfortunate. Trust me. Look at that. That's not. I don't look at it as being unfortunate for me making that decision. I would rather say it. Understand it. It should make life easier. Should make life easier, because then what happens is, here's what happens. It's easier. There are people out there wait on the RCS sports ranking. For years, it's been the measuring stick for everybody else in Greater Houston. I know that. You know that. So what happens is anybody can go and wait to see who I rank 1 through 10 and then go make their own based off of mine and play off the psyche. Take number 4, make him number 1, right? Take number 9, make him number 5. Take number 8, make him number 3, because you're going to play on all of them and say, Hicks don't love y'all. He don't. Look how he got y'all ranked too low. So now, remove myself from that. Then now you got to make the decisions. You got to go out there now and watch. Trust me, if I spent 20 plus years doing it, and people would get pissed off from being ranked number 4 or even number 2, and there's nothing else to measure them off of for the most part, then guess what's going to happen? It's going to happen the same way to the next guy. History will repeat itself. I promise you that. And then know what happens? People are going to say, you mark my words, you bookmark this Chop Shop show, June the 5th. You bookmark these. People are going to come back and say, man, please come back and do them ranking. You got to give it 5 years. Hell, it might be 3. I just want to give it a whole cycle. That mean a 9th grader will go through the 12th grade cycle, and the 8th grader will come in. Give it 5 years. Watch what happens. And if everything is go as planned in this life, I will be so far removed from this stuff in 5 years that you wouldn't even trust me. So that's the thing. You provide a service to the community. A lot of my efforts are going to go back and reinforce into the communities. That's where the heart is. Concentrate on helping. Remember, we have real stuff going on in my community right now. In case you guys don't understand, the Texas Education Agency has officially taken over the 3 closest high schools to where I live at. That's included in the district. But those 3 closest high schools, it has been announced over the weekend that those 3 high schools, which are Wheatley, Cashmere, and North Forest, those are 3 of the closest high schools to me. For sure, North Forest and Cashmere. Wheatley is about the same as going to C.E. King or Sam Houston. You see? So theoretically, give and take a tenth of a mile or two. Those are the 3 closest high schools to me. It's my community. 29 schools feed into Wheatley, Cashmere, and North Forest. North Forest used to be known as Forest Brook and Smiley. I mean, that's the combination of what used to be known as Forest Brook and Smiley, a consolidation. Those 3 high schools have 29 schools that feed into them, meaning elementary and middle school combined. 29 schools. Every single employee at each one of those schools, including those 3 high schools, Wheatley, Cashmere, and North Forest, must reapply for their jobs effective immediately. This is what's going on. This is what's going on right now. It's our community. I just got a message from one of the high school coaches in that community, in this community, I'm sorry, just yesterday. Because they communicate with me effectively. I'm a pillar to some in the community. He says his most talented player has basically stopped going to school. Quit school. He hadn't seen him at school. School has ended. Didn't see him none the last few weeks. So that means he stopped. He didn't come take finals. I said, well, what happened, coach? Why didn't you let me know this now? You let me know this 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. And he explained, these are community problems. So now I know what a young man, the apartment complex for which he dwells in, I got to go and drive over there and find this young fella and have a talk with him. Those are reality, and that's community efforts. That's community service, so to speak, to the purest form. It ain't an issue of I need you to go back to school. It's like, the issue is what I don't need you to do is get yourself in handcuffs and put your life in a situation where you're taking penitentiary chances every day of the year. Everybody, some of you guys can relate to me when I'm saying that. You can feel it coming through your screen. And especially with a lot of these young people out there, speak a different language. So I got to go find this young boy. Go make a drive-by. Today, it was nighttime when I got home from the tournament, from the June Classic last night. Championship game wasn't until 7:30 for the 8th grader. Started about 30 minutes early, a little bit early. Then rushed out of that, went over to the pub and to the restaurant and watched the ball game with a couple of the fellas. So then went straight on home. Shit, but knowing him, nighttime probably been the best time to find him. I'm gonna go make a drive to. But my point is, guys, you guys, everybody that understands, RCS Sports will still be able to grant an abundance of exposure to your players. Now it's just going to take the stress of of me having to rank you, of me having to go and you guys go and you ask Jeffrey Day what happened. He say, well, that's Jimmy rankings. You blame Doug, and Doug say, well, I ranked your kid this. You know what? I didn't do it. You ask Archie Young. Well, man, I didn't rank him this way. I like the kid. So now it cuts all that out. I know what you guys do out there. So that gives you more reason to be pissed off. So what I'm doing, I'm about to trick the whole game. I'm eliminating that. You won't be able to do that no more. So now what's going to be your reason now for not effing with me or RCS Sports? I'm going to set the truth free. Eventually. And then you're going to say, well, man, you know what? I just don't like it, man, the way they do it. So now what you gonna compare? What you gonna compare? That's the thing. And I'm looking right now. And Bienemy says, I had that discussion with a parent back in 2007. My response, why do you care? If your kid can play, somebody will see him. Response was, you only said because your kid top 5. I'm curious to know what happened to the college career of that particular kid. I'm really curious. Troy Bienemy, if you would tell me that. Jock must say, what about Ruck on Wood? Jock, you must have just tuned in, and as punishment, you need to share the show right now. And Ruck on Wood, there will be rankings done after Ruck on Wood. That will be the last batch of rankings that will be done, will be after Rucker on Wood. After then, they're going to be in alphabetical order. They'll be in alphabetical order. So this Rucker on Wood is going to be historic. This will be the last one. Now, what Rucker on Wood probably can serve, it'll serve as a ground for other people to gauge your kids to rank them. Basically, Ruck on Wood is going to serve as a photo shoot for the magazine, because now we'll be able to probably expand the magazine into making sure pretty much everybody who gets to Ruck on Wood will probably almost be guaranteed to have a picture in the magazine. And it also gives a photo shoot for however we name this watch list or whatnot, to everybody have their picture photo put. So where the rankings are, it'll be in alphabetical order, and it'll have photos, and you have the opportunity to have videos and whatnot. But I got to check with my with the website tech to find out if it's feasible, what it would take, because that framework that we're working on, we already busting at the seams because there's so much content on that website. If I can try to get it reformatted to just or we can do range, do alphabetical order instead of numbers. And if I put another name in there, would it automatically sort according to their name? So hopefully that answers your question, Coach Armand. And Marjorie said about the superintendent a while ago. He doesn't have a certification. Yeah, I heard that. That's kind of weird as well. But at the same time, Marjorie, the coach of the Miami Heat never played. He never played basketball. He never played in the pros. And so, but Daz Moody say give it 3 years, not 5 years. Nah, it's gonna be at least 4. I'm not gonna stop doing it and come right back just like that. Nah, you have to give people time enough just to realize just how bad. Be careful what you wish for. And a lot of people have wished this upon it. Guess what? I'm looking at something and it's basically conceding at the same time. Conceding that Dallas, DFW, has prevailed and as a recent dominance of the exposure factor over Greater Houston. And one of the reasons is because DFW does not do any public rankings of their kids. So when they're advertising and marketing their kids, guys, it is primarily a range of kids. So I mean, you can give a group. You can give 3 or 4 or 5. That means if you give 3 or 4 or 5, now it's 3 or 4 or 5. And all of them, who's the best one, man? It doesn't matter now because nobody's ranked. So there's no animosity because let's say Buff doesn't have your young fella doesn't have your kid ranked high enough. Well, you still love Buff because he's gonna give your kid some exposure. So that shows I'm studying this And guess what? I challenged them for years. I dare y'all to put some rankings out. Some people have did rankings for Dallas. And the ones that did no longer do them publicly anymore. So, if it's working for them now, that dynamic and that module is working, and it's working over and over and over the last 5 years, then guess what? That might be the way to go. Might be the way to go. And imitation is flattery. Hell, I've been imitated for 20-something years in this business. I'm going to go that route. Now, that's the thing. Trust me. Now, even the college coaches don't get mad. Understand, whenever a kid commits to a college, guess what you have? You have a kid commits, that college coach wants the kid to get bumped up some. Cheat sheet. Man, you got him at number 8, man. Can you get him in the top 5? Because it's going to make him look good to his boss. So now, guess what? It's less stress. Less stress. Now, instead of come to play in these events to get ranked, you play in these events to get my ink. My ink is much more valuable than my rank. You best believe that. I promise you that. That's what you should want. My ink is like co-signing the loan. You want my signature. It makes it easier. Here's my perfect example when I say of making it easier. When if you go to rcssports.com, open up another screen on your page, go to that website, make this one small, go to rcssports.com, and as you go on there, you're going to see a Greater Houston transfer portal list, right? That is the list of all of the players who emerged into the transfer portal this year from Division I that we know of. Those players are in alphabetical order. Had I got Doug Jones to go and rank them all, I could have said, Doug, rank those 37 players. What do you think would have happened if Doug Jones would have ranked those 37 players and just put them in a list and rank them? ESPN has a top 100 of transfer portal guys. What do you think would have happened if Doug Jones would have put that list out and ranked 37? Who would you have had at number 1? Who would you have had at number 2? I can promise you one thing. Everybody except number 1 would have been pissed off. So that's the perfect example that I can provide to you guys to let you understand just how wacky that stuff can be when it comes to rankings. These guys are already in college. That rank ain't got no bearing on you. That's why what happens is, guess what? You can look all the way to the bottom of that list. Trey Miller, Tremont Mark, Savell Wheeler, they're near the bottom of that list. Their name starts with S's and T's. But guess what? They were among, time they got in the portal, among the first to go. It didn't hinder their recruitment one bit. Coaches know how to go and tell, and they know how to sift through the names. They know how to go in the alphabetical order. It really makes it easier. So for that other excuse, trust me. My point is, if you can play, they will find you. As long as your name is in ink and is amongst others that are good enough, they will see your name. How far they pursue it, keep playing. Keep playing. And Oklahoma is on the threat once more. No outs, top of the ninth, leadoff batter hits a double to the wall. I told y'all this was going to be a classic game. I told you turn it on. For those of you that turn it on, meanwhile, uh, the superintendent, he founded Third Future Schools, the school network that is, with campuses in Colorado and Texas. So that means he still eat off those schools. And the mayor, Sylvester Turner, had leaked out that this Mr. Miles would be named as the superintendent of Houston Independent School District. And it was funny to me at the time, this was a couple of weeks ago, and people went and asked the TA, they had no comment. They went and asked the governor, no comment. And he's the mayor of Houston, and they basically did not want to run with his rumor, his theory, or his news breaking tweet. Now it's showed to be true, so that means he's credible when he got his news from. But once again, guys, I see Frank White in the house. These parents gonna wish RCS Sports did rankings in Houston still. Just watch the Dallas way. Costs way more money out of the parents' pocket. Yeah. You can see, just absolutely, it's gonna cost you a whole lot more by me not doing the RCS Sports rankings. Now you guys getting it, because my time at that point, like I say, I'm going, because my efforts in my community, and my efforts going to be, you'll see, you at the TABC event, just watch me as I roam around that building. Watch the college coaches, how they come up and flock to me. You watch that. You pay attention to that. And you can tell and feel the energy of the relationships from so many of those college coaches. So what you're watching for is, do you not think if they can greet me in such fashion that I don't have their cell phone numbers, that what if I say your baby's name or put him in that alphabetical list now? Doesn't matter where he ranked at. If he in that list, then guess what? Then he's good to go. And lastly, Millionaire Mind was asked the Dallas for what was the superintendent result in Dallas. Was he able to get in fact get results from the failing schools? That's a question for the Dallas folk. That's a good question. This situation right here is sad, but if you guys don't understand the history, Wheatley and Cashmere, and by HISD wanting to do something with North Forest, that's already conceding to the fact that you're admitting that North Forest, the consolidation of Smiley and Forest Brook, did not work. It didn't work. You conceding that, right? And it's sad, but it's real. And speaking of, and they're going to close down one of those schools. You can best believe that. Now the thing is, North Forest High School is located a half of a mile from KIPP Charter School in HISD. Used to be the old Super Skate, for those you remember in the early 80s or the late 70s. Super Skate skating ring, roller skating ring on the corner of Mesa and Tidwell. That's what KIPP Academy is now. That's a half mile from North Forest High School. So, do I think it would be North Forest High School that they would turn into this charter school? That means they would have 2 charter schools half a mile apart. Cashmere High School has been recently renovated, as all schools in HISD, but the gymnasiums has not. Wheatley High School is a brand new building for the most part that's been put up about 5 years ago. And that way, Wheatley High School, Cashmere is the only one that's in the middle. Wheatley is to the left. Think of a line segment. North Forest is to the right. Cashmere is directly in the middle of both. So it would make, in all likelihood, in reality, if one of those schools were to close down, it would likely be Cashmere. Because that way those people they can dually travel to the left or to the right to North Forest and Wheatley. So, and like I say, it's intriguing because North Forest also has the old Smiley High School building directly across the street that is still up, and where they've turned the gymnasium into the Coward. I'm trying to think. The football stadium was Coward. I can't think of the basketball gymnasium. But I was waiting till this game go off. It's 2 outs, guys, about top of the ninth, and once it gets, and it's the 2 strikes and a base hit, Oklahoma just went ahead, a double into the gap, and a runner is going around second. And 2 runs score on that. So it is a 4-2 lead. It's safe to say that OU has come through in the top of the ninth, and the young freshman from Stanford, she did well, but sometimes well is not well enough unless you're talking about a steak. And so, but at this point, here's another good question. How is Galena Park High School HISD? Galena Park is not HISD. They're in the HISD playing district. They're still part of Galena Park ISD. They're not. Are you sure about that? You need to check on that, Mr. Barnes. Galena Park is, from my all understanding, they're still part of Galena Park ISD. They just play because of attendance in the HISD as a 5A school, I think. Yeah, I'm talking about the pavilion. But but that's pretty much it, guys. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me today, and make sure you go over to rcssports.com. Check out the VIP news today. Share the show on your way out the door. Robert Hall, if you missed earlier, he came and joined us. He's at the golf tournament today, Vernon Dean Foundation Classic, and he'll be back on tomorrow with one hell of a tan. I would expect being out there in that sun this long. But yeah, I'm looking right now. This game is pretty much, it's comfortable to say that Oklahoma about to eliminate Stanford. Stanford gets the bat now. They will get the bat. But anyway, I'm gonna leave you guys on that note, and I will see you guys on tomorrow. Remember, it's thanks so much again. I hope you've learned something or been educated about something, and hopefully are motivated to do something to create or make change, or extend your influence to somebody out there. Share the show on your way out the door. Time to slide down Dino's back and yabba dabba do this thing. But right now, guys, I'm up out of here. Peace. See you guys on tomorrow.
Jim Hicks, Rob Hatter. You are now tuned in to the Chop Shop. I'm Retro. Let's get it. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up. It's live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up. It's live in the Chop Shop. Yeah, it's lit in the Chop Shop. Turn your dials.